So just to understand where we're at, in light of what you guys are talking about, stress is, you guys really climaxed with the development of the PSA. And correct me if I'm wrong, that was really the most intense thing you've done for this class. Does that sound about right? I mean, it was,
Yes,
yeah,
super out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, I
girlfriend.
agree, and I've made, videos before.
But that's where you grow is and I get that because I've been there. I did it too. But that's where you grow the most is when you get way out of your comfort zone. And the beauty is that going forward, whether you're talking someone in film industry or anything else, or if you're in a public health education setting and they're talking about some type of, whether it be someone else doing a PSA and the impact it has on you, or that level of envy that you wish that your group had something like that, you have an understanding now of what it means and the opportunity to contribute and say, I know what it takes. I know what needs to be done to prepare for this. You could be on a driving committee. You could be one of the people who develops it. I mean, you've got now something to add to a resume, okay? And so when I don't believe YouTube will ever take that down, keep that embed code. And you can also, once you insert your embed code or you launch it, then you can also copy the URL code. And I encourage you to keep that and add it to your resume of experience, okay? Don't let that fall by the wayside because that's a skill set now that you've developed, all right? But preparing for your PSA, doing the background research, that information is being recycled again. As you saw, from the social media topics this week, it's going to be recycled again. Um, Partially feeding off of the PSA, the information that, or sorry, for the information that you want to convey for your media fact sheet, where you're being very succinct now, taking your data and creating, it's really a media fact sheet is designed so that like if you were to give your PSA and the fact sheet to, let's say, Good Morning America wants to know more about your initiative, then that would be the cheat sheet for them of information they would need to know to talk about. All right. Your op-ed or your blog post, whichever you opt to do, is an opportunity for you to really heart and soul write down what it is that needs to be communicated about your topic. And then the text messages, the email message, these are tiny little increments. Planning effective meeting, these are skill sets you may have or you're developing. Looking at your coalition meeting minutes, that's the meeting minutes between you and your cohorts when you guys are going to bring your PSAs together as a collaborative working together, that coalition of projects. And then advocating your project. This is a series of questions you're going to answer. Building the, I think the bottom line is what I'm trying to convey is that you guys have done the hardest of the work so far, and the rest is now really just retouching the information in different perspectives. Okay, so hopefully that alleviates a little bit of your stress. Hi, who's Dee?
Oh, it's me, Diana.
Hey, Diana. Okay.
I'm so sorry I'm late.
No, yeah, no worries. I can never remember what the letters are for who.
Oh, yeah,
So,
it's me.
Diana, what we were just talking about, and it's actually being recorded also, is that, with the stress that, we all have had in building up, and you guys were way outside of your comfort zone of developing the PSA and preparing for that. Everything from here on out is just application of the existing information that you have. Okay.
Okay.
So you really don't have any more research to do. If you're unsure on what a media fact sheet looks like, it really is facts, nothing but the facts. But it may take you 10 minutes to just look up and review examples of it. But these should be now, honestly, you guys, you've got your reading and the question, 1 to 3 questions you post. And then you've got your assignments. And these assignments really should only take like a couple hours a week. All right. They're not meant to be these intense experiences, but it's really more thinking, and what I recommend is at the beginning of the week, get your reading done, get your question in, look at the assignment and then start thinking on it during the week, just in the back of your head percolating, and then, you know, carve out some time, sit down and knock it out right away.
I have a question. What are we supposed to do with the code that you provided us, the embedded code?
The PSA evaluations activity is, let's see. Oh, have I not set up the discussion form yet? Here it is. Okay, PSA evaluations post. So what you guys are going to do is you're going to,
Because you gave me a code for my first video, but then we discussed like, oh, like if you give me like a day, like the thing could download. So like it downloaded and I sent it to you again. And I didn't get a code for that one.
yeah, actually, Diane, if you can stick around with me afterwards, because I was having a problem with it. And if you could go through it with me, then maybe you can help me resolve it. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, it's just that like I said at first, it's a like with the high quality that I did it on, it's so hard to download. So I think that's why you were having trouble, because I spent like hours trying to like download it, and I actually left it in like the morning at 8 a.m. and it didn't download till like like 11 p.m. maybe, I think.
Understood. So at the end of class, you and I will go in and look at that Canvas message and help me. And then you will either see that I'll be able to upload it right away, or I won't be able to access it. Okay.
Okay, and then if not, I'd have to stick to my low quality one.
Yeah.
Aw,
Hey, at least you'll have one.
yeah.
Okay. So what you guys are going to do is that I have the PSA evaluations post, and what you're going to do is you're going to post on this site, and you're going to use your embed links. So I have directions on how to, this is exactly what it's going to look like, is that you're going to go in and insert. And when you hit embed, the code that I gave you, you're going to paste directly in here. And when you do that, hold on one second. I will, let's get a video somewhere.
When will that be due? Like, when will that be going on?
I'm looking for a syllabus on here somewhere so that we can look at it.
Oh, okay.
When is it due? I think it's due next week. All right, hold on a second. Let's go take a peek. You guys, everything for me is an outer body experience. I have to constantly look at my phone in your syllabus to know when anything is due. Whoops, that's not a syllabus. Okay, the PSA evaluations post is due the 19th at the latest, but the sooner you post it, the better, is my opinion. Okay, hold on a second. I gotta move this thing down. Okay, so what I've been doing is loading all of your PSAs into my YouTube account. And so here they all are. And what I did is I gave you guys a link. So, oops, we don't want to do our class ones. So here, for example, I'm just going to pull up, I forget whose this is. This one's on STD, STIs. So just so you know, in the future, in case you guys have not done this, okay, when you right click or with a Mac two fingers, you copy the embed code. Are you guys able to see what I'm doing right now?
No, it's a black screen.
It is?
Yeah.
For me, yes.
Okay. Shoot. Why is it not allowing you to see that screen? Okay, well, let's give it a shot. Okay, so you see it now, right?
Yes.
Okay, fabulous. So let me take you back for a quick second, just so you guys understand what my life looks like, is that every time you guys do a your MP4 file, I have them all here and I'm uploading them into my YouTube account. And you guys can set up a YouTube account also. Whenever I do this, I do have to establish them as being as being public. And that's just the payoff, which means if anyone knew the title of your PSA, they could potentially hunt it down. So I do have it posted as being an educational product in case someone ever says, hey, copyright laws. It's like, well, it was an assignment. But all right, so we have that. So I've got a PSA here, for example. And then when you either two fingers or right click, you go down to copy embed code. And that's what I have for you guys is I copied the embed code so that when you were on the site, you're going to go in and click on insert. And this is in the tutorial. You've got embed. And then when you paste it in there, this is what it's going to look like is the video is going to show up directly in there. And then you're going to include your, in this case, I'm just pulling up the assignment itself as an example. You're going to include your media fact sheet as a link. All right. So you're going to have to, you have to submit. I'm having an aha moment. You guys are going to have to submit that to me also. Okay, you're submitting it for your grade. That means I've got to go ahead. Sorry, I'm having these realizations. I have to load for you. No, you guys can create a link, right? You can insert a link for your own document. You should be able to. My Chapman kids do for their assignments. Okay, so you're going to submit the link for your, this is not meeting minutes, wrong assignment. Oh, well, pretend that it's the media fact sheet. You're going to load the link for your media fact sheet, and then you're going to add your blog here so that when people go and they open this up, the PSA evaluations post, they're going to be able to go shopping and they're going to go through and look at all the PSAs and have the opportunity to read the blogs and identify a topic that you feel coincides with your topic. So maybe we're going to have different people focusing on diabetes are going to come together and create a coalition. Or maybe you're going to have someone focusing on Latinos, 3 different people focusing on Latinos, and you want to address different aspects of information to promote healthy lifestyle and wellness in the Latino community. Or maybe you're going to focus on teenagers and different people in those stages. PSAs that address the teenage stage are going to come together as a coalition. But you're going to go shopping, and then when you find someone, some different people, like say Mohammed, let's say you have your topic and Rosemary and Diana are going along and they're thinking, wow, I really think this would make a great coalition. Then you're going to reply to Mohammed's post and say, hey, Mohammed, I really like what you're saying and what you're addressing as X topic. My topic is Y, please go check it out because I think we'd really make a great coalition working together as a team, as if you were different agencies coming together. All right. And then it's 2 to 3 people. So maybe Diana, you come along and you're looking at Mohammed's and you're like, and you see Rosemary's post. And so you go look at Rosemary's post and you're like, I like what's coming together for the 2 of you. And so maybe you might post on both Rosemary and Mohammed's and say, hey, I really like, what you saw in Mohammed's. I like what you've got. I'd like to join you guys. Or you might feel, hey, Mohammed, I really like what you have to say. And you don't comment on Rosemary's because you don't feel Rosemary's fits the vision that you have that you're presenting with Mohammed as a coalition. Does that make sense? You're going shopping, basically looking for partners.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Okay. It's a really neat opportunity. Rosemary, you're so cute. It's a really neat opportunity because this is where you're going to be able to look at everyone's PSAs, okay? You're going to have that opportunity to see the different approaches people took, which is going to be really powerful for you guys to be able to identify in addition, different styles that you really liked and accessing more information that may be applicable to you, or you might see how this starts to come together and making a difference for your different groups. So that was the shopping adventure, and that is due by the 19th. So the important thing is, I really recommend the sooner you get it, you can, do I have this assignment built for you guys? If it's not, then I need to. Yes, I do. Well, that's a rare moment. Okay. Okay, so if you wanted to look ahead, on that section of what a media fact sheet is or an op-ed, you can always work ahead and get that going and post it even earlier. That's fine. But my advice is the sooner you have the opportunity to post it, the sooner people can start looking at it. And then as they post earlier, it gives you more time to go shopping also. Hello. And that being said, thank you, Mohammed. I needed that feedback. All right. And that being said, same thing, when you guys get to the text messages and the email, these are really straightforward. You have the ability to start working ahead. If you have some downtime, take a moment, read these assignments, get familiar. The only thing you can't work ahead yet is the plan effective meeting. I don't have that built out yet. And part of that is because you really need to, I've got to work on that, and you've got to start to develop your coalitions. And then once you identify who you're working with, then the plan effective meeting, the coalition meeting minutes, that's when you guys come together, and you will have a meeting online where you can talk about how you see these come together. And then the coalition of projects, how it would work together as a coalition, what you guys would envision as this team event to make a difference in your communities. This stuff will come a little bit later. So your first wave that you could work ahead is all the way through the text messages and email message. All right, so time management opportunity if you guys want to move ahead. Any questions about this stuff, you guys? Whoops, you're down here. And you know that as the PSAs came in, I gave you guys initial feedback if it needed to be tweaked in terms of how to contact people, when and where. But I didn't want to give any more precursory feedback, to make changes, because the rest you just need to really learn from each other what works and doesn't work, just like when you went and looked at other PSAs to identify what worked and didn't work for you on what you observed. Oh, yes.
So on this, so on the square that you just posted, like where our video is going to go, it's going to be the PSA. Underneath is going to be the fact sheet. And then underneath is going to be the blog.
So you have the PSA, you have a link to the fact sheet. And
Yeah,
then,
a link to the fact sheet.
yep. And then
the blog.
Your blog is written. Exactly.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So to find that, I have it pinned. It's in your pinned discussions for the PSA evaluations post. And that's where I've got the directions on how to embed your video, and then to post your op-ed or blog, whichever, approach you're going to take. If I had a choice, I would probably go more with the blog, because then that becomes kind of like an educational article versus you doing an op-ed as a response to something. And then, yeah, your media fact sheet.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Krista?
let's see. Okay, yeah, that this is going to be the kickoff for you to start to prepare for these other items that I've got to start building. I'll get there. Okay, if you guys have any other comments, please do. Otherwise, we're going to jump over to announcements. In our first recording, we started, discussions. We started going over some of these topics. Small group on Monday, as we had for today. So we just did them together as a group, and I didn't end up recording the answers because it just really became a lot more involved than I expected. And crud, I can't remember where we left off. Did any of you listen to that recording? No? Okay. All right, let's see what we've got here. Okay, well, so do you three want to go ahead and tackle, or do you want to do it together? I think on Monday I only had 2 people, which is why we did it together. It was just not big enough. Oops. Okay, Amber was here. Remember that. Okay, government agencies, data breaches, social media. All right, let me jump down on a couple and I'll just go over them quickly. So what happens if you go against social media policy? I think we did discuss this, which is basically they'll censor you, they'll shut you down, but the odds of a public health agency going against social media policy are pretty low. However, we are in such a bizarre society right now that it's unfortunate, because I think in this political environment with this big net that's swooping some things up, I think other things will get caught up into it, unfortunately, and be impacted by it. When it comes to guidelines or rules on posting on social media, 2 things you want to take into consideration. Number one, no matter what it is, for any group that you're doing social media for, you should always look at the rules and revisit them on a regular basis, because they have the potential of changing them. And I don't believe there's any requirements that they have to alert you of the changes, or the fact that you'll even notice the changes if it gets buried in your emails. But we do want to take into consideration that we never want to post anything that is tied to personal health information of any individuals, okay? A general consensus public, that's fine. In terms of government agencies and data breaches, oh, as an airplane goes over, sorry, you guys. Government agencies and data breaches, unfortunately, that's not something we can control for, other than having really good firewalls up to protect any information that we have. But things that we're putting out on social media, there should not be any concerns of patient information, because we're posting it on someone else's site, educational material. Now, if you're in an agency that does have a data breach, typically, especially when you're in a government agency, they do have people who focus on that. And when this happens, it sucks. And this is a very quickly evolving world. We have had data breaches with healthcare agents, insurance companies, and what they're mining for, I would say probably is social security numbers at that point, but I'm not sure if that's really as big a fish as something like bank account numbers or credit card numbers, where they have the opportunity to access money. In terms of social media, the power to disseminate information quickly on a topic, how can we warn the media? It's a really important thing is to try to educate the public, because the internet is rich with bad information. And sometimes that means that as a public health agency, we have to teach people how to discern good information from bad. And that's a form of a PSA, a public service announcement, where we teach people to focus on information coming from government agencies, nonprofit agencies, and we need to give examples like the American Heart Association or the American Diabetes Association. With social media, how can we make sure the information shared is cited and correct information? Well, we can't control for other people's posts. We can do comments saying, hey, folks, just let you know, here's a great place to visit for this information, or we can request that they cite the information correctly, but we cannot control for what other people do. And that's, for me as a dietitian, for example, that's one of my most frustrating points, is the internet is got so much bad information out there about nutrition. It is out of context and wrong. And people buy into it thinking that it's real, that it's factual, that it's evidence-based when it's not. And we just can't control it, but what we can do is do our best to communicate the correct information and to help people understand why it's the correct information. Are there guidelines for health educators as to what social media posts are removed based on offensiveness towards others? You know what? This never was an issue in the past for a couple of reasons. Number one, social media really is newer. Number two, we are all getting sensitivity training left and right, which I think is absolutely brilliant. However, our society has evolved into a hypersensitive society, which makes it really hard because I got to tell you guys that, it's gotten to the point where there are so many opinions about different things, even when we talk about differences between sex and gender, that I'm to the point where if I say one thing to one group to appease them, I'm now upsetting another group. And it's become really awkward because I'm not sure what to say anymore. So I don't think we're ever going to please all the people, and I don't think we're ever going to be capable of not offending anyone. So keeping things as number one, evidence-based and as factual and as to the point as possible is going to be the name of the game. But I don't know, with the environment that we're in right now, there's a possibility that this may disrupt our ability to use social media for the time being until our society sorts itself out with all the crazy stuff that's going on. And what do I mean by crazy stuff? Do you guys know what I'm referring to when I keep making comments about things being so weird out there? Do you have any opinions on that? Or
Oh, in terms of social media and like crazy opinions, the first thing that came to my mind, no offense to anyone, was Donald Trump. I know like some of his posts like got so bad that I think Twitter would go out of their way, like because he would make these like false claims, false information, fake news sort of stuff, and then Twitter would like put something that said the information within this tweet is false or not like verified or something like that on like his some of his Twitter posts. So yeah, that's one thing that came to my mind when since we're on the subject.
Yes, I will say that that he definitely has no filter. I will also say that my husband is super into fact checking and delving very deeply. And unfortunately, I will warn you that there is no party innocent in any of this right now. None.
Oh my God, I totally agree.
Yeah, there are games being played on both sides of the coin. Okay. And that's why it's getting really hard. But add to that the whole concept of cancel culture. And Mohammed, this is really a part of that cancel culture concept, which is the moment someone doesn't like something someone says, whether it's political or social, you're canceled. You're out, which is kind of funny if you think about it. Because didn't he have a TV show that was like, you're fired or something?
The Apprentice or something, yeah, and like his catchphrase is like "You're fired," yeah.
Right? I mean, I don't have time to watch TV. I have no idea, but it's gotten to that point where the moment, if you look at Hollywood, people are getting fired for having political views that other people don't agree with, which is not a reason to fire someone, because I thought this is the United States of America where everyone can have an opinion.
Yeah,
But
can I comment on that?
if you want to.
Yeah, I like honestly, yeah, I stayed off social media during like that whole time, like of like I'm totally like for like LGBT, BLM and whatever, all that stuff. But like if someone isn't, like I don't care and it doesn't keep me up at night. And like I have like friends who are um like anti-Biden and anti-Trump, and like then like they stopped being friends, and it's like why does it care? Like people died for our rights, and like I don't understand why it's a big deal if like Yeah, I mean that's it kind of sucks if someone doesn't support like whatever you believe in or BLM, LGBT, whatever. But like at the end of the day, like people have a right to support Trump or believe whatever they want. And like I feel like um yeah, they're kind of like making it not be America. Like this is like the land of the free, and it's just kind of like sad that like we can't have our own opinion. It's like 2020. I thought people were supposed to be more open. I mean, I don't know. I just like I like respect other people's opinions, and like I just don't understand like why there's so much hate in the world right now. And I think it's just because people are trying to push people to like believe what they believe. But
It,
like you can't preach something like you don't even do, I feel like.
it's polarization, right? It's
Yeah,
it's extremes. And Diana, what you're speaking of is balance, is having the
totally.
opportunity to balance everything, to have opinion, to be able to express information, and to look at it and either be like, yeah, I don't subscribe to that. No, thank you. Versus looking at it and saying, I'm going to take you out for saying that. It's like mafia.
Exactly.
I totally agree with that. I mean, nowadays it does feel like we're in like almost a modern day like Salem witch trials, like witch hunting and stuff like that.
Mhm,
You know, everyone's like looking for, you know, the people who don't support them or just
mhm.
said something wrong, they made some sort of misstep, and yeah, and you know exactly like cancel culture. But to add on to that, I think like it goes so deep though,
Mhm.
because there are some times where freedom of speech and like people's like opinions and stuff could become a bit problematic. One area in particular that I found was that I sort of think about is the situation with like transgender individuals,
Yeah.
because the whole like pronoun debate, because you know we talk about freedom of speech and opinion and stuff like that.
Yeah.
One thing that I was sort of thinking about, that I was like doing a little bit of research into, was that you know there are people who don't believe or support the whole idea of being transgender, of being, you know, of you know a different gender than what you were born as biologically,
Mhm.
and therefore they feel that they shouldn't refer to someone by the pronouns that they prefer. And you know, in a way, they argue that that's their freedom of speech, but then on the other side of that, they say no, that's not freedom of speech. That's harassment. That's hate speech to use someone's dead name or their, you know, the pronouns that they don't prefer. So there are like these sort of cases where, you know, it's not so much as, you know, you do you and you do me sort of a thing. It becomes like very uh difficult, and that's sort of the culture that we're living in today. So it is all really crazy in my opinion, and I feel like this stuff will keep going on until we can figure out some sort of common ground.
Right. It's Mohammed, you speak to something that has been a challenge for me at Kaiser, is because we have, and I, you know, I got to tell you, part of the reason I love Kaiser is because they really honor people's feedback, their members' feedback. And when members have negative experience and can communicate it, it's an opportunity for us to learn from it. But when we talk about this conversation of changing gender, it's become challenging for us because when you open up your insurance plan, you have your legal name and you have your sex listed, but you have the opportunity to change your name as to what you want to be called, especially if you're going through uh, surgery to change your sex. And it's interesting because we want to honor and respect our members. And if Terry wants to be called Timothy, okay. Hi, Timothy. How are you doing today? It's lovely to have you. What can we do for you? But the conundrum is that if we don't know if Terry is a he or a she, we're not allowed to ask what they want to be called. And we're not allowed to ask what reference, what pronoun to use. So we're bound from finding out what people want, but we're also disciplined by others if we make an assumption. Where do you go with that? Do you feel the anxiety?
Literally
Yeah.
walking on eggshells.
Yeah. and this is really, it's interesting, but this is in terms of the public health sector, because we do deal with the beautiful variety of people. This is how weird it's gotten. And it is nerve-wracking. And you do have that kind of, you know, back to what you guys are talking about, is that the different perspectives and everything, is that, you know, you've got so many things that are, you've got cultural perspectives, you've got, you know, something we didn't talk about. And I was really sad that I forgot when we looked at the different isms that we experience. I forgot to include ageism in that list, which just killed me, because, you know, the whole ageism thing is a huge angle. Like, it was funny. Someone was talking about recently about how you part your hair is, if it's a, what is it? If it's a side part, you're an old person. And I thought, oh my God. But it's, you know, there's so much incredible discrimination going on for being different. And I think part of it is trying to establish ourselves to be unique, but at the same time, it always makes me think of some of those horrible old messages of people standing on top of dead bodies. Basically, I've arrived. Look at me. I've defeated others to get to where I want to be. And it kind of feels like that right now. So that being said, as we move forward in the world to make a difference for others, improve their quality of life, we are walking on eggshells right now, because we're not allowed to ask people what they, you know, what they personally want. We have to do it in a very roundabout fashion, and we have to be respectful and observant of everyone. And this has become a form of a gag order. So it's almost like, when, you know, and it's funny because culturally, you have some cultures where you need to look at people straight in the eyes, and you have some cultures that avert their eyes. And the sensitivity training of so many different groups used to be just kind of generalized by cultural, in terms of region from the world people came from, but that has hyper proliferated. And in public health, you are becoming a person who not only wears multiple hats, different jobs, but now it's almost like multiple languages to talk to different people on their level, what they want, rather than being able to speak from where you speak from for all people.
I have a question, or more like a comment. Do you think that maybe like society has become like sensitive? I don't know. I feel like growing up, um, I don't know, things were just like like comedians had like no filter, and it was like funny, and it was like they like joke about like Mexicans, and I thought it was funny, and I never got offended. Or they laugh about like LGBTQ, but it wasn't like it's not like that, you know. And I don't know, do you think that maybe like um this like society has gotten like a little sensitive? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Thoughts? You know, you know, it's funny because people in my age group, we talk about this periodically, and we think it might be tied to the entitlement that everybody's a winner. You know, and this kind of goes back to, if you think about it, you go to the soccer game, and if your team loses, we don't look at it, you know, we don't look at kids and say, next time, work harder, and next time you may be the winner. Instead, we say, it's okay, honey, everybody's a winner. And that mentality, I mean, it's sad, because I think it's kind of like saying, oh, good job. What does that mean? Everybody's a winner. What does that mean? Really? It's, instead of saying, you know what, you really played your heart out and you gave it your all. But they did have some moves that were things that you can aspire to and learn for your team to be even more powerful on the field. Instead of teaching people how to grow, we've stunted their growth by saying everybody's a winner. We're done.
Yeah, I think so too. And like yeah, even like back to like the political thing, I think that like I honestly like really don't care about politics and don't really care for either party,
Mhm.
especially now. But it I don't know, like like people were saying that like I guess like there were so many rumors that like Trump was saying bad things about Mexicans and stuff. And like I'm like Hispanic myself, like I'm Mexican. And like then like I saw like this video where like he like would call like Hispanics like thugs and things like that. And like I would like I don't know, I'd be with like a group of friends and they'd be like, how are you not offended? And like the way I was kind of raised, I feel like I like my mentality is more like um honestly I was never and will never be offended by any of his comments because I'm not one of them. Like yeah, I'm Mexican, but that doesn't mean I'm a thug. And like but I think that like people get like offended like
Generalization, Diana, what you're saying is that people are taking on general statements as if it's targeted to them personally.
yeah. And like to me like yeah, I mean yeah, exactly, like to me like those comments have never offended me. And
Mhm.
I'm just not a hateful person in general, but like I could never like I just don't hate that president like most people do because I'm not a thug. Like I know who I am and I know I'm not that. So like there's no reason for me to get offended by the comments. And if you are like that, then I could see why you would get offended. But I think that like that's just something like like you said about like people instead of like having people to grow, they've kind of just like stopped.
Mhm.
And I feel like that kind of has to do with that in a way.
Well, and there is, you guys, there is a catch-22 in this, okay? There really is, because obviously there is a point where a person making fun of another person and generalizing it to a whole population, then I think that's really weird, okay? And that would be, for example, saying all women are stupid. Wow, thanks. You know, then that's a gross generalization that just takes, half the population of the world, and that's just stupid. But, doing something like a dumb blonde joke, I don't, my being blonde and my being female, I don't feel dumb and I don't take it personal. I think they're kind of hilarious. Maybe because I've known a few. But there's just that difference between, number one, what's being said in the execution, and number two, how much do we want to personalize everything that's being said versus to look at it. Think back to, this, it's kind of like in high school. How much do when you have the mean kids, do you want to take everything they say to heart, or do you want to look at it and say, that's your story, and move on? And I think what our society is doing is, instead of listening to people say weird things and saying, that's your opinion, that's about you, we're listening to it and we're going, oh, and we have to distinguish between the gross generalization that is really ridiculous and disgusting, and there's historical significance to that. And that's where things like sexism and racism and ageism really, and xenophobia, those really come into play, because those are whole huge statements versus things where they're opinions and it's just like, yeah, whatever, that's you, and let it go. It's not easy, you guys, because some things are like sticking a finger right into a wound and stirring something up, and that is part of what's going on right now. Is some things that we're starting to heal are being stirred up, and maybe stirred up for good reasons and maybe stirred up for silly reasons. And it's a case by case scenario, and it depends on what we have invested in that community, and what, and where we feel it's hitting at the heart, but of something. But I find it intriguing, because when you look at, division, like I was watching this really fascinating interview, talking about LGBTQ and politics. And it was a very interesting interview that was, they had pulled together a group of people on campus, and they were African American descent, and they were talking politics. and the group was divided between homosexuality and heterosexuality, and the subdivisions of opinions, and how you had half the room who was, you know, arguing why the Democratic Party was the answer, and then the other half of the room was saying, no, what the Republican Party is putting forward is very real. And it was intriguing because one side started accusing the other of betraying their heritage. And I'm like, are we not allowed to have a political opinion? But then it got really weird, because then it started getting personal, where the heterosexual group was saying, you're gay, you should not be a Republican. And it's like, okay, so now we're lobbing the sex card into the political card, into the racism conversation card. It was crazy. But there's so many things at play right now. It is bizarre. So my advice is stay mellow and stay back. Okay,
It
how
is
are you
funny
guys?
that you mentioned that, because I was just thinking that nowadays, like politics and all this sort of stuff feels like a card game with how many cards the people keep pulling.
Right? And it's right. And I think the most powerful tool we have is to listen, but also to learn, and to really look at it for what is sensationalism and what has some good points. Because good points we can learn from. Sensationalism is emotional. We don't learn, I'm sorry, but we don't learn from emotions. We should listen to our emotions, but we need to identify what is at the root of the emotions. Because emotions don't come from the moment, they come from something in the past that upset us, that's being activated by the event. So we have to kind of learn. And that's where, you know, this is going to be important, you guys. Speaking of in the public health forum, I think I had brought this up to you guys in the past where, you know, I've had incidences in class because I'm working in with people who experience obesity and bariatric surgery. I've had incidences where people have gotten in my face. And it's one of those catch-22s, because I've had some of my cohorts are of a higher weight mass, and people get angry at them because they think, how can you teach us how to lose weight when you're heavy yourself? Okay. But then I can come into a classroom and people could be, you have no idea what it's like to be heavy. How can you teach us? Tell me who wins. Nobody. Do you guys get that?
Yeah, I was about to say nobody. Like
Yeah.
that's
Because now what some people say is, you're damned if you have a heavier weight mass, but you're damned if you have a lower weight mass. So there is no winning. And in situations like that, when people are saying this to you, you got to look at it, and you just got to know emotion. You got to let it go and look at it for the facts, which is, you know, this comes back to things like motivational interviewing and counseling 101 parroting, which is, I hear from what you're saying that you're upset, and I'm trying to understand what it is that upsets you about my representation of this information in the classroom. And, you know, some people are like, oh, never mind, I don't want to talk about it. And it's like, well, you know, if you want to, I invite you to, because I think it's important, and I think other people could benefit from this conversation. They may be feeling the same way as you. Other times people do in the classroom, they want to get down and dirty about the conversation. And the key is to have a level head, to be cool, and to make sure you let them know that you're listening, truly listening to what they're saying. And if that means, let's make sure I understand correctly, what you're saying is you are not comfortable with me leading this class when I have not experienced obesity myself. And usually the people will, you know, say, yeah. And it's like, okay, I totally get that. Now, that's not something I can change because this is my skill set and my job. But let me share with you how I can make a difference for you. And, you know, you've got to read a situation, and you're going to have it. You're going to have it if you're working with people about STDs or sexuality, or you're working with people about gender, or working with them about diabetes, heart disease. I mean, you name it. And the point is, when I was talking about those college students being interviewed, is that you could be in that arena of LGBTQ and feel like you're going to speak to your people, and they can totally reject you for something that they decide, that one person decides is not right. And it's inevitably going to happen. It's happening right now at such an accelerated rate. It's crazy. And it's back to that thing that we said, is that people are picking on everyone about everything. And that is that cancel culture. The moment you don't represent what they want, you're gone. Get rid of you. And it's weathering the storm, that you just got to stay calm, acknowledge what people are saying, and be like, okay, well, this is what we're going to do today. And progress. Power to you. Oh my gosh. Okay, you guys still okay out there?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Okay.
Yes.
It's, you know, you guys, I acknowledge there's a lot of emotion and a lot of opinions and a lot of personal experience and a lot of perceived experience. And what I mean by perceived experience is really stories that are being conveyed. Getting back to what you were saying earlier, Diana, about, you know, Trump referring to Mexicans as thugs. I can't speak for that. I really have no idea what that was. I don't know if it was taken out of context, if it was in reference to, you know, the gangs coming into the US, or if it's in reference to, you know, the coyotes delivering people. I don't know what, you know, is it in reference to America and the mafia, the Mexican mafia? I have no idea, right? But this is where we just really have to be cautious about statements that people make, and go slow and easy when information's presented to us, and figure out where our footing is with it. And then we either have to kind of circumnavigate around the information and continue on what our education is, our outreach, or sometimes we have to evaluate a situation and determine that this might not be the appropriate time or location to continue. And that can happen. But in that case, you bow out very gracefully. All right. In terms of where we get to with Maggie O'Hara, I think this is where we definitely had dropped off because it was a longer topic. And how are we doing on time? Oh, okay. You guys tell me, where are you at with this? Do you feel like, whoa, this was a lot, my head's kind of spinning, I've had enough for today? Or do you guys want to continue with some of these topics?
I'm open for anything.
Okay, Diana's up for anything. Rosemary, where are you at? Because I know you were kind of in a pressure cooker with all your stuff that you need to do.
Yeah, I'll probably have to step out soon.
Okay.
Thank
No
you.
worries. You know what, I do value your time, and I appreciate, you know, you listening to these different perspectives, you know, and sorting through this information, because we're in a different environment. And I got to tell you guys, every day that I'm working with people, I'm constantly trying to figure out, what do I have to adjust to keep things going and to keep the peace in the room, you know, that when people start to elevate, and they do, even before the political environment got weird, I will tell you that sometimes temper is elevated for bizarre reasons. And you got to be prepared to figure out how to bring it back down again, you know, to shift gears and redirect people. And that's just like with little kids, you know, when they get upset, then you redirect them. Okay, and sorry, hold on one second. Oh, stepping over the husky. Okay, dog. The dog is asleep at my feet. He's just like, yeah, whatever. Step over me. Human. All right, Mohammed, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. The discussion was really like nice. I feel like I learned a lot.
Good.
But also on the other, but I do want to say that I do have a lot of stuff that is due. My schedule is looking a lot more hectic. Right now, I feel like now that it's April, time really flew. I feel like we're now in like the third act of like school. I have a lot of I was looking over my syllabus. I have a lot of like projects and stuff coming up that I really want to get working on.
Yeah.
So
good.
I have like a research paper. I have another group project that I need to start looking into, and that too. Like I also have my like daily workload and daily assignments for my other classes. So as much as I would like to continue, I do really need to sort of
No
like,
worries. Mohammed, you're stressing me out with that list. No, you know what, you guys, that was absolutely fantastic. I think that was an hour of really awesome conversation. And I think these conversations are important because when we're in a public setting, we are going to forever be hit with these things and we've got to be prepared. So I am perfectly happy with you guys moving on to the next task. As I think you succinctly said, there was a lot of value in taking a moment and looking at the environment and what this means and how this influences us in public health. So to me, today was an absolute success. And I appreciate that. So let's, let me turn off the recording and let's officially conclude today. And then if anyone has any questions about any of the postings that you feel needs to be more addressed more, then just, say, hey, I still want to know what the response is about this. All right.
I mean, I still